1. Genesis 12:2. I will bless you and make your name great, and you shall be a blessing. God called Abraham to leave his homeland and trust him completely. Abraham obeyed without knowing where he was going. This verse shows God's blessings are meant to bless others. Abraham's journey began with faith and obedience. 2. Genesis 12:3. In you all the families of the earth shall be blessed. God promised Abraham that his faith would impact generations and nations. This blessing pointed to Jesus Christ through Abraham's lineage. The story reminds us that God's plans are greater than we can see. 3. Genesis 13:14-15. Lift your eyes now and look, for all the land which you see I give to you and your descendants forever. After Abraham separated peacefully from Lot, God rewarded his humility with a renewed promise. Abraham chose peace over conflict, and God responded with favor. 4. Genesis 15:5. Look now toward heaven and count the stars, so shall your descendants be. Abraham and Sarah were old and childless, yet God promised countless descendants. Abraham believed even when the promise seemed impossible. God's blessings often begin where human strength ends. 5. Genesis 15:6. And he believed in the Lord, and he accounted it to him for righteousness. Abraham trusted God fully. His faith became the foundation of his relationship with God. The story teaches that true blessing begins with faith. 6. Genesis 17:4. As for me, behold, my covenant is with you, and you shall be a father of many nations. God changed Abram's name to Abraham as a sign of destiny and promise. Before the promise was fulfilled, God spoke as if it had already happened. 7. Genesis 17:7. I will establish my covenant between me and you and your descendants after you. God's blessing upon Abraham extended to future generations. The covenant was everlasting. Abraham's story shows obedience today can affect generations tomorrow. 8. Genesis 18:14. Is anything too hard for the Lord? Sarah laughed when she heard she would have a child in old age. Yet God fulfilled his word exactly as promised. No situation is beyond God's power. 9. Genesis 21:1-2. And the Lord visited Sarah as he had said. Isaac was finally born after years of waiting. God proved faithful despite delays. Abraham's journey teaches patience and trust. 10. Genesis 22. Take now your son, your only son, Isaac, whom you love. God tested Abraham's faith by asking him to offer Isaac. Abraham obeyed because he trusted God completely. Surrender often comes before greater blessing. 11. Genesis 22:12. Now I know that you fear God. At the last moment, God stopped Abraham from sacrificing Isaac. Abraham's willingness to obey demonstrated deep faith. God honors hearts that trust him. 12. Genesis 22:14. And Abraham called the name of the place, the Lord will provide. God provided a ram in place of Isaac. Abraham learned that God always makes a way in impossible situations. This story became a symbol of God's provision. 13. Genesis 22:17. Blessing, I will bless you, and multiplying, I will multiply your descendants. Because Abraham obeyed God wholeheartedly, the promise was confirmed again. Obedience and trust continue to attract God's blessings. 14. Genesis 24:1. Now Abraham was old, well advanced in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. Near the end of his life, Abraham experienced fullness in God's promises. His family and spiritual legacy reflected God's goodness. 15. Deuteronomy 28:2. All these blessings shall come upon you and overtake you, because you obey the voice of the Lord your God. The blessings Abraham experienced became an example for God's people. Abraham's life demonstrated the rewards of walking with God. 16. Psalm 23:1. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Like Abraham journeying through unknown lands, David understood dependence on God. God guided and provided for Abraham through every season. 17. Proverbs 10:22. The blessing of the Lord makes one rich, and he adds no sorrow with it. Abraham prospered because God blessed him, not merely through human effort. True prosperity comes from God's hand. 18. Malachi 3:10. I will open for you the windows of heaven and pour out for you such blessing. Throughout Abraham's story, God continually poured out favor upon faithfulness. God delights in blessing those who trust him. 19. Ephesians 1:3. Blessed be the God who has blessed us with every spiritual blessing. The blessings promised through Abraham were fulfilled spiritually through Christ. Believers today share in that inheritance of faith. 20. Galatians 3:9. So then those who are of faith are blessed with believing Abraham. Abraham became known as the father of faith. His journey from uncertainty to promise still inspires believers today.